Emperor Sheev Palpatine is often regarded as one of the single most powerful Sith Lords in galactic history, laying siege to the entirety of the galaxy and ruling over his subjects with an iron fist for nearly 2 decades unopposed. His prowess in lightsaber combat and affinity within the Force has allowed him to go toe-to-toe with some of the most powerful Jedi Masters of his generation, both in terms of Force power as well as lightsaber combat. He dueled Grandmaster Yoda to a standstill, had the Force ability to mask his presence from the entirety of the Jedi Council, which are each incredibly respectable feats in their own right. Under the tutelage of his master, Darth Plagueis, Palpatine was able to become one of the most fearsome Sith Lords and proficient dark-side users in history. But who in his generation did Plagueis regard with just as much respect as Palpatine? And who was there that Plagueis may have even preferred to train? Well, stick with us today, weary acolytes of the galaxy and students of the Force, and let's discuss the replacement that Plagueis would have sought in the event of Palpatine's death, as well as the individual that Plagueis desired to train before he met Palpatine. According to the Darth Plagueis novel, one of my favorite books of all time, in the event of Palpatine's untimely demise or his inability to continue with his duties and practices as a Sith Lord, for one reason or another, Plagueis would have pursued none other than Jedi Master Count Dooku as a replacement, with Plagueis considering him a worthy successor of the Sith title. This was due to a few different factors that Dooku showcased. These factors, which went beyond his simple prowess within the Force and his notoriety as one of the Jedi Order's greatest swordsmen. While his skill was certainly commendable, and Dooku was a well-respected and highly renowned Jedi Master, he wasn't particularly strict on the Jedi Code, and had an affinity for bending the rules to his own accord from time to time, a trait that was highly desirable by both Sith Lords, and something that would actually trickle over into Qui-Gon Jinn, Dooku's own apprentice. His flexible moral code meant that he could be more easily tempted to the dark side, as he saw later in his career, though the exact circumstances were a bit more complicated than the standard reasons why some joined the Sith Order. Many Sith elect to join the ranks of dark side users for power or influence over the galaxy. Dooku, though, is unique. Other Sith give into motives of greed, lust, or a desire for control simply for the euphoria of having unmatched and unrivaled power over others. Dooku, however, craved the ability to make a legitimate change rather than simply rule a new kingdom over which he bore the crown. While Palpatine's iteration of the Empire was a fascist regime that constricted personal freedoms, he was also able to entice Dooku into joining his cause by tapping into Dooku's desire for forward progress and a better galaxy. Count Dooku believed that the Senate was ineffective and that the Jedi had completely lost their way, growing weak, which called for not only a purge of the current governmental system, but the re-establishment of a new Force-wielding order. Though Dooku's new government would be far more benevolent and merciful than the Empire that we ultimately saw. In the very same Darth Plagueis novel, Palpatine has a conversation with Dooku before his turn to the dark side, and this dialogue showcases Dooku's desire to do good for the underprivileged of the galaxy and help those who are less fortunate than himself, the Jedi, and even the Sith. The exact excerpt from the novel goes as follows: "But that the disenfranchised worlds of the Outer Rim enjoy any support at all is largely due to you. You speak honestly, and you champion the underprivileged, and you may be the only one capable of bringing the Republic back from the brink. Unless, of course, you have been lying to me all these years." The interesting part of this, however, is that these traits not only made Dooku a point of interest for Palpatine upon the death of his first Padawan, but Dooku's behavior had enticed and even intrigued Darth Plagueis before him, showing that Dooku had embodied these traits for years, even decades, and was a highly touted and desired Sith prospect. Another quote from further into the novel showcases that Dooku has always had a different perspective on the Sith than most Jedi, even back in the days when he was a loyal master. To Palpatine again, Dooku says the following: "For many, the Sith are the embodiment of pure evil, but the Council knows differently. What separates a Sith from a Jedi is the way each approaches the Force. The Jedi Order has placed limits on itself, but the Sith have never shied away from incorporating the power of the dark side to accomplish their own goals." Palpatine then asks if Dooku wishes to learn the secrets of the dark side, to which Dooku replies, "I confess that I do. This showcases that the seeds were being set for Dooku's descent into the darkness while Plagueis was still in power and the reigning Sith, and it's understandable as to why Plagueis would have been interested in Dooku as a prospective backup apprentice should his relationship with Palpatine ever sour. If Palpatine were left unable to continue his training due to either his death or some other factor, then Dooku not only would have been the next logical step, but Plagueis himself even confirmed as much personally. It's even interesting to note that Palpatine came to not only revere and respect Dooku as a worthy apprentice during the Clone War, but he even became weary that Dooku not only could, but might overthrow even the power of Palpatine. After contending with Master Yoda at the dawn of the Clone Wars, Palpatine saw Dooku in a brand new light, and came to even develop a latent sense of caution around his new Padawan and Sith apprentice. While Maul was little more than a pawn that Palpatine used to further his own agenda, Dooku might have been a credible threat to Palpatine's throne and power, and Palpatine knew this threat. As of now, it appears as if Dooku, at even 83 years of age, was the superior lightsaber combatant to that of Palpatine, at least concerning his fundamentals. While they were both able to contend in lightsaber combat with Grandmaster Yoda, Palpatine was bested by Mace Windu, or at least he was allegedly bested, who was often cited as Dooku's closest competitor in the realm of lightsaber combat. And it's not unreasonable to believe that Dooku would have contended with Palpatine in a duel. After developing a relationship with the Sith assassin Asajj Ventress, Palpatine became even more concerned that the two might elect to overthrow him, and therefore inherit the reign of the Sith for themselves. But Palpatine is too smart for this. In the end, this ultimately would have allowed Dooku to enact the governmental system that he himself wanted to see, and not enact Palpatine's vision. This is what led to Palpatine ordering the assassination of Ventress and causing the rift between herself and her master that would carry throughout the remainder of the Clone War, with the respect and esteem coming from not only Palpatine, but Darth Plagueis as well concerning Dooku. We are left to wonder what the truest potential of Dooku's reign as a Sith Lord could have ultimately been. Not only was Dooku respected by both Sith Lords of his generation, but he was only finally bested by the Jedi Knight who would come to replace him as Palpatine's next apprentice, the greatest Force wielder that had ever lived, showcasing that he was far more powerful and had far much more potential than might have been ultimately believed of him, or even immediately prevalent. Put some respect on Dooku's name. But anyway, my friends, did you know that Plagueis considered Dooku to be a worthy backup apprentice in case Palpatine died, and even considered making his apprentice before Plagueis' own demise? And what do you think would have happened if Dooku had actually been apprenticed to Darth Plagueis directly? And more than this, if Dooku was ever to allowed to become the one true master of the dark side and the Sith Order, what would Dooku's empire look like? As always, my friends, may the Force be with you. Thank you as always so much for watching, and have a great day.